First at 5. From the University of Florida's College of Journalism and Communications, you're watching WUFT News.
We're only 8 days away from Election Day, and people all around the country are casting their votes for the 2024 election, including right here in Marion and Alachua counties. This is WUFT's First at 5. I'm Natasha Holt.
And I'm Alex Land. We're just 1 week into early voting, where over 2.5 million people have voted already. WUFT's Bailey Korinek is live in the studio with us with stats for North Central Florida.
Here's what's happening in our neck of the woods. Local officials estimate about 30% of Marion and Alachua County voters have already casted their ballots in the early voting window. I talked to both counties' election officials to break the numbers down.
Vote, 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 let your voice be heard.
Voters in Marion and Alachua County are doing just that.
We're seeing a large degree of excitement among voters trying to get their votes cast early on in the process and not having to wait till Election Day.
1 week into early voting for the 2024 election, local counties are seeing significant voter turnout.
We should top very close to 100,000 people will have voted real close by the end of the day today. So that, that's a lot of folks.
In both counties, early voting sites have long lines.
That's about 9,000 people a day
That move quickly, amounting to over a 36% voter turnout.
If I were venturing a guess, I would say we're anywhere from a third to 40% of the way through in terms of voter participation, but that's up to the voters.
Officials are asking you to do your research and prepare ahead of time.
Do yourself a favor so that when you get in the booth, you can spend the minimal amount of time.
Take a look at your screen to see a breakdown of voter turnout for Marion and Alachua County. Mostly Democrats have hit the polls in Alachua County and mostly Republicans in Marion County. Again, officials want you to do your homework to cut down the time in the booth. It's more than a presidential election in Florida. On the ballot is the U.S. Senate race, the Florida Supreme Court, and 6 amendments.
The Harris-Walz campaign has made its way to Gainesville. Florida Democrats and State Senator Chevron Jones are hosting a roundtable to encourage black men to vote for Harris. Senator Jones will be joined by other community leaders to push Floridians to vote early for Democrats up and down the ballot. The Harris-Walz campaign has been focused on reaching black men as polls show Harris behind in the key voting block. The event will begin tonight at 6 p.m. The event is private, but you can learn about how to attend at mobilize.us. WUFT and WRUF have you covered on election night. Tune into Cox Channels 5 and 6 for live team coverage of local city and county races, state amendments, and the race for the White House. Our coverage begins when the polls close on November 5th at 7 p.m. And if you can't get to a TV, you can listen in at 89.1 and 90.1, in addition to WUFT.org. Taking a look out on our weather radar, there are a few showers over the water, while the rest of the area remains dry this afternoon. As we take a live look over I-75, we see clear skies and the weather looking up just in time for Halloween. We now go to UF forecaster William Maxham with what to expect this week. William, how's it looking outside for our trick-or-treaters this Thursday?
How it looks right now is pretty much how it's going to look on our Thursday, which is Halloween. Temperatures are going to be very comfortable into the 70s in the evening. That's pretty much where we are now, right around the 80-degree mark and the upper 70s. With a mostly clear sky, all those showers are going to remain over the water. We're looking at dry conditions through the rest of the work week. Currently 78 High Springs, it's 80 degrees. In Ocala, a touch warmer in the Villages at 81 degrees. Looking like similar numbers going to stick around through the rest of the week. So you can pretty much assume that, hey, this is what we're going to see on Halloween. Temperatures into the 70s through at least the 10 o'clock hour. Eventually we get down into the 60s. However, as we get into the weekend, we're going to keep our eye out for potentially a change in the forecast after a streak of sunny days. We're going to be watching for the potential for a tropical system that could be impacting the state of Florida. More on that coming up.
In other news, a Levy County man is dead after a four-wheeler accident at a Williston horse farm on Sunday. The front tire of the four-wheeler slipped into a large depression in the ground, causing it to roll. The 44-year-old rider fell off the ATV and was pronounced dead at the scene. Look out for road closures today and tomorrow. The ramp on County Road 484 to I-75 North will close overnight today, but you can still get onto I-75 through the ramp on State Road 200. Also, the southbound I-75 rest area will close overnight on Tuesday. Other rest areas are located about 35 miles north and south of the closed area. The closures result from the Florida Department of Transportation's 14-mile resurfacing project. It's National First Responders Day. When we come back, we show you how Florida is supporting these emergency workers.
What the Attorney General had to say this morning, and Florida's plans to keep our law enforcement on track. That and more after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Today, we celebrate our local heroes on National First Responders Day. Florida first responders tended to our communities when they needed it most during the back-to-back hurricanes within the past month, and many face adversities daily. Since 2019, Florida has lost 80 first responders to suicide. Attorney General Ashley Moody spoke today in Tampa with plans to provide more mental health resources for first responders.
Because healthy officers, mentally strong officers, make better officers, not only in their own lives, but in the way that they communicate and interact with the public, and the way that they communicate and interact with suspects.
Hillsborough County launched a Hope Line, a first responders resource line back in 2019 that covered 5 counties in the Tampa Bay area. Today, they launched a statewide hotline reaching all 67 counties. If you're a first responder struggling with mental health, call the number shown on your screen.
FEMA continues to provide assistance to those impacted by tornadoes during Hurricane Milton. FEMA says you should contact a representative to describe your circumstances, as you may be eligible for a one-time assistance of $750. Officials want you to remember that FEMA doesn't replace insurances. Bookworms, you can get books for as little as 10 cents. The Friends of the Library book sale continues throughout this week. The sale offers over 500,000 items, including books, CDs, and posters. All profits go to the Alachua County Library District and community literacy projects. The sale takes place at the Friends of the Library Bookhouse. The biannual event will be open to the public until Wednesday, October 30th. It's open from noon to 6 p.m. every day this week.
Marion County neighbors, you can ride the bus for free tomorrow. SunTran is celebrating Mobility Week by offering free rides from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. The county also will be handing out safety items at the downtown transfer station. The Florida Department of Transportation created Mobility Week to encourage the use of public transport.
And the Hurricane Center is tracking an area where there is expected to be perhaps our next named storm. I'll show you the latest forecast when we come back.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome back. We are mainly sunny as we look at the campus cam. Lots of blue sky there. Just a few puffy clouds here and there. Temperatures are comfortable there in the upper 70s right now. We're looking at what's going to be an open window type of evening as temperatures cool into the lower 70s and eventually into the 60s. Later tonight, winds are on the light side out of the east-northeast at around 13 miles an hour. Looking out to the west over Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, no issues here. Almost a completely blue sky, just a few puffy clouds here and there, just kind of breaking up that monotonous blue. Our temperatures, they're into the upper 70s, right around 80 degrees, 76 in Palaca, a little cooler along the water, St. Augustine, but we're 80 degrees. In Bronson, these temperatures today into the lower 80s this afternoon, just a little bit above the average level. And tonight, we're going to be near average as well with some fog developing close to sunrise. No big deal there, just some patches. Be aware driving around in the morning that you could encounter some fog. Not expecting it to be particularly dense, and it'll be out of here probably by the 9 o'clock hour, but we're still dealing with some early fog in the 8 o'clock hour. Temperatures mid-60 there. We're almost at 80 degrees at lunchtime, and into the afternoon, very similar to today, lower to mid 80s for forecast highs. No potential for rain. We're very dry across the southeast. We have high pressure pretty much sitting on top of us, a cold front way off to our north and west. That's not going to make it into Florida, so we've got more or less the same kind of weather day to day for the next several days. One thing that is going to be changing is we could be dealing with some tropical weather. There's a medium chance this orange shaded area will develop into our next named storm. That could be happening at the end of this week or end of this week or into the weekend. Potentially it could be affecting us here in Florida around Election Day or maybe just a little bit after. Forecast models, though, are starting to take this developing storm a little further to the east than it looked a while ago. So it looks like the storm will move over Hispaniola and then continue to move off to the north and east, at least according to the latest forecast. But this could change. Remember, there's no storm that's formed just yet. So for now, sunshine continues through the holiday. Then we're watching for that storm to form by the weekend. Could see some changes, but right now it doesn't look like it's going to be a big deal. Temperatures going to stay in the upper 70s, lower 80s for the next several days. Halloween forecast looks great, but early next week, that's when we could be watching the tropics.
Coming up in sports, Gators football and Billy Napier get ready to take on second-ranked Georgia. And Gators volleyball's outside hitter breaks a school record. This and more sports news after the break.
You're watching WUFT-TV News.
Welcome into sports. I'm Issa Rivera. Coming off of a bye week, Billy Napier and the Florida Gators are getting ready to head to Jacksonville to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. The football team has had a week off to improve upon some of their weaknesses before they face the number 2 team in the country. The Gators are coming off of a great win against Kentucky, putting them 11th in the SEC. Now they shift their focus towards the tougher part of their schedule, facing Georgia at a neutral site this Saturday. Gators coach Billy Napier acknowledges that they have a tough game ahead of them.
Obviously, kind of a next challenge mentality for our team. So we did a lot of good things last week. Certainly the guys benefited from a couple days off.
The Gators will take on the Bulldogs on Saturday at 3:30 p.m. at Everbank Stadium. Gators soccer waved their chances at postseason play goodbye this weekend after a loss at home. Florida lost to Oklahoma 1-0 yesterday at the Diz in the second-to-last game of regular season play. The result places Florida in second-to-last place in the conference with only 1 win. A win in this week's season finale against Tennessee on Wednesday will not be enough to qualify for the SEC tournament as well. The 24th-ranked Gators volleyball team got their 3rd consecutive SEC win this weekend after an incredible performance by Kennedy Martin. Florida defeated Tennessee in the O'Connell Center, improving 14-5 overall. Sophomore Kennedy Martin hit a record 31 kills, setting the program's individual single-game kill record, as well as the most kills in a 4-set match. This performance continues her streak of recording double-digit kills in every match she has played as a Gator. The Gators now get ready for their first SEC midweek matchup of the season on Wednesday against Arkansas.
The weather's going to be pretty nice. Now, it's not going to be especially cool. I would call it mild, let's say, through the next several days. If you're doing some trick-or-treating, got no issues there. Rain not present on our 7-day forecast. It's going to be next week before we have any chance of rain. So we're looking good for all the goblins and ghosts in your neighborhood. No problems there. I think temperatures when the sun goes down are going to be right around 79 or upper 70s, so very comfortable. No need to put on a jacket to cover up those costumes. And weekend forecast, didn't even mention it during the long weather segment, but those look like 2 great days as well. Again, if we have any impact from that potential tropical system, it's going to be coming around the middle of next week, but right now it looks like that's going to stay to our east, but that forecast could be changing. Be sure to check back.
Thanks for joining us. We're back here tomorrow for another edition of First at 5.
But your North Central Florida news is always on at WUFT.org and all of our social media platforms. Have a good night.